Alright, this is part two, and it's not going to take too long, don't worry. You won't have to sit through another 10 minutes. So anyway, I'm in this movie theater, and I was looking at the screen. I just wanted to tell the second part because it's really sort of spooky and cool and stuff, and haunted and sort of. I was just, I can't remember what was on the screen, but in the dream it seemed to me that I fell asleep, like shortly after turning to focus on this movie scene where the movie was starting. And I felt this real happiness, like I was saying, and an excitement. It's like a childlike excitement. There's this feeling you only get. I only get it now in dreams. I was terribly depressed yesterday, and this was like nothing like that. But I mean, maybe sometimes I'll get it in life if I'm doing something really new and interesting and fun, like going on a big trip or something like that. But I sort of like dozed off in the seat. I still had Bjorks' briefcase sitting there, and an empty briefcase that had the works of her weird voice mechanism in it, and I was thinking how Bjork probably left. This is just an aside note. Like on the way over there, I was thinking Bjork probably left because she was like, I don't even need that briefcase. Like I'm famous, and I don't need to talk to this dude who's not even famous and stuff like that. So she just picked it up and left or something. But so anyway, I was looking at the screen, and I fell asleep, and then that's when I started flying. I started flying out. Or in the dream, it seemed to me I'd fallen asleep and was dreaming I was flying. Like I'd fallen asleep in the movie theater and was dreaming I was flying, and I was dreaming I was flying down this street in the early night. For some reason, that was very important to the whole idea, is that it was early night. It was like just like twilight or the end of twilight or early evening, and like I was cruising along, and I came to this house, and I was like, I want to see what's in here. And so I flew in the door, and it was like I was cruising around some city, suburban area or something. And I came into this house, and I was like, oh, neat. This is some kind of like part house, part shop. No, it was like a part shop, part. It was a shop or something, and then it had a back room with all this stuff in it, with things like pots and pans. So I thought maybe it was some pizza place or something, but I couldn't quite tell. I was like, is this somebody's house, or is this a pizza place, or what? And I flew into one room, and I was like looking around there. And then I was like, Then at this point I became pretty much lucid. But again, I thought I was dreaming, and that where I really was in that movie theater. So it was kind of not exactly lucid, but it was pretty lucid. It's what I call a semi-lucid dream. But it was very lucid. Actually, it was really lucid at this point. It just didn't have I didn't have the idea that I was asleep in my bed, But I knew it was a dream, and so I went into that room, and then I flew into the other room, saw the pots and pans, and then something sort of in a caged thing to the side of it. And I was thinking, okay, let's go into the next room again, and then back here and see if it changes, So I flew back into the room, the other thing, that front room that was like, there were only two main rooms in this thing, and like the front room was like a pizza joint with a counter almost, but I didn't see any pizza stuff, and it didn't look like ovens were there. It was like a shop, And I went back into the other room, and I was like, yeah, see, again, the pots and pans, and it had stayed pretty much the same, but different. And then where that caged thing used to be, I realized it now was like a chicken wire grate, and then I flew closer to it, and it just became these gutters, sort of like these white gutters running along the ceiling. And I was like, that seems to be some property of dreams. That things have to change for some reason. like when they're never quite the same, you know. They always have a different version when you come back to them, which is true. You know, they do. They change, things in dreams change, but within the same sort of parameters or something. But anyway, and then it just had this really eerie feeling. It was like it's later night, and I've gone on a weird flying spirit trip to look around this weird neighborhood. And that's why I like, you know, like in the early night, and so like and then I found some pencil on the floor, and I vaguely thought I'll take this back and give it to Bjork. Oh yeah, there were two pencils. One was like big and long, like a carpenter's pencil, and I figured, well, that's probably a shop pencil for in here, so I left it, and then it was like, here's another pencil. And I said, I'll take this back to Bjork and give it to her. For some reason, I don't know why I thought she needed a pencil, but anyway. So then I flew out, and then I saw these people pulling up to the curb, like in front of this house where I was floating out, and like I had this kind of evil feeling toward them, like as it was like maybe a family, or a guy and a girl and a kid, or a guy and a girl and somebody. No, I don't think a kid was there. It was like a guy and two girls or something, and I was up over the thing, and then. I was up over the car, and I think I sort of dropped something on their car, maybe the pencil, but then I was thinking, maybe I should be like nice to people even though it's a dream state. But that's kind of a classic thing for me, is that I'm sometimes violent and destructive toward people in dreams, but still I felt this eerie feeling. I just dropped something on their car. I didn't do anything really bad, and then I kept going, and I was like, yeah, and now the mall. There was some mall. Again, this wasn't the big area where I was watching the movie theater, which was supposedly, or maybe I thought I was heading back toward there, but I was like, there's Sears, and so I flew into this area. It looked like houses, but it was actually supposed to be some elevated mall thing or something. And I flew back into it. I flew into it, and it was like, I thought, it was like Sears or something that I flew into, or it was some department store, and I saw women hanging up clothes, like closing time, and it was all like twilight, and then I realized it's not really twilight. It's actually later than that. So I got this a little bit wrong. It was like twilight outside, and they were just closing up, and I was like, this probably would already be closed, but it was just weird. I don't know. It was like twilight, and I just went cruising, flying through this thing, watching people hang stuff up, and like, and went through like some other stores and stuff like that, and I was like, pretty soon I'm gonna either get back to the movie theater, or wake up in the movie theater. But it was just such a neat feeling. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's such a weird, eerie kind of feeling, you know. Like, especially earlier in that movie theater where I felt like really happy and stuff. But then I woke up. Somehow I just woke up right around then. I can't remember any. No, that was it. That was it. I woke up on the way back, sort of flying back there. So. Didn't get back to the movie theater or give the briefcase back to Bjork or anything like that, but I woke up here in my room, obviously. Alright, see ya.